Reverend C.L. Bryant is back. Thanks for being with us, sir.
You bet.
How was Geraldo?
Yeah, yes, I was on with Geraldo.
That big old bushy mustache, what is he doing with that?
Oh, wow. You know, Geraldo's been an icon for the last 40 years, so I guess it works for him.
What was in Al Capone's vault? Did we ever figure that out?
Nothing.
That's the craziest thing. All right. So at the end of the last hour, Reverend Bryant, you made the point, former NAACP leader, you made the point, and by the way, your movie is runawayslavemovie.com.
Yes.
You made the point that what we need is more people to step forward. I was talking about corporate cultures and Southwest Airlines. I was talking to a Southwest Airline pilot at a funeral in New Orleans yesterday, and we were talking about mid-level management, and that's really the core of a company. It's not the guy who joined the company yesterday, and it's not the CEO. And I sort of compare that to what a lot of white folks in America see as the quote-unquote black community. And I see these self-appointed Al Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons who claim they're the leaders of all blacks, which is not true. And then you get the people that'll show up to rallies and hoot and holler and scream and demand, and they're sort of the peanut gallery. And I sort of equate them as these people at the bottom and then the people at the top in this supposed totem pole. But then there's mid-management.
Right.
There is the other 97.8% of black folks. And I guess my question is, how do we get those folks who have a stake in America, who are married to white people, who have whites in their families, who are not racist, who are just trying to live a life like the rest of us? They're postmen and military officers and entrepreneurs, to be willing to speak out, because obviously you transcended that, and you're going to be called an Uncle Tom and all the hateful things that will be said about you. And I've always maintained that blacks who speak out against black racism will be pilloried far worse than any white guy ever could. How do we empower independent black folks in their own way, in their workplace, in the schools, in everywhere else, to speak out?
By promoting the message that we succeed as individuals and not as groups. Black folks, unfortunately, have a certain, and I hope it is built in, but it's a certain tribalism that is afforded to us as a group of people in this country. And the one thing that Al Sharpton and the progressive left have been very successful in doing is promoting that we, village, tribe type of mentality, and of course being black. Now, of course, I'm proud to be black. I've always been black. I'm going to be black until the day I die. But this is the thing that we forget as black people. Our ancestors did not survive. They did not go through what they went through in this country so that we could be black. They went through what they went through so that we could be free. And that is to associate with who we want to associate with, go where we want to go, and, of course, say what we want to say. We're the only group of people in this country that if someone were to land on this planet today and they were to run into a black person, they would say, take me to your leaders. We're the only people in the country who have leaders. We're the Irish leaders. We're the Italian leaders. Black folks have to be led around, and that's the image that we have. We're too stupid to speak for ourselves. We need Al Sharpton to talk for us. We need Jesse Jackson to talk for us. We're too stupid to talk for ourselves. And that is, even though it's not true, that is the image and the stereotype that many blacks operate under when it comes to a situation like this. So you're beginning at a handicap.
Reverend C.L. Bryant is our guest. The movie is runawayslavemovie.com. I look at people. There's a man in Houston named Marvin Hamilton. I call him the old man at the sea. He's early 70s, black guy going on about 35. He decided at 70 years old to go back and finish the college degree he never finished. He's a straight A student. A lot of people go to him for advice. And we've talked a lot about race over the years, but I look at his generation. I look at black professionals in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and then even early into the 70s, when the black nuclear family was still very strong and an important thing to be proud of, and when blacks didn't have the opportunity. It was basically clergy, post office, military, education. And then these opportunities opened up, and it was as if those values that had been that we were so proud of, and the black father figure, it was almost the stuff of 1950s TV, that all just sort of seems to have evaporated. And these values of we have to be better than white folks, we have to be a stronger family, we have to be a more faithful family. And it just seems like somewhere along about a 25-year period that just exploded, and now we've replaced that with Lil Wayne and Kanye West.
Absolutely. And what happened was the 70s sitcoms, not blaming it totally on television, but this was the design. When Good Times, Archie Bunker, and George Jefferson, the Jeffersons came along. This was before Cosby. They actually instilled a stereotype of a certain type of black person, and that's who black folks were in the 70s. And black folks began to do a good job of living up to J.J. Evans and living up to George Jefferson, the angry but successful black man, but still angry. And then Archie Bunker was the quintessential white redneck.
Grumpy old white man. Reverend Bryant, can you hold with us?
Yes.
All right. Reverend C.L. Bryant is our guest. He has a movie coming up called RunawaySlaveMovie.com. We'll talk further to him coming up. In light of the Trayvon Martin situation and the national outcry and the race hustlers moving in, we noticed that Reverend C.L. Bryant out of Garland, Texas, was speaking out and referring to the race hustlers, criticizing the president. He has a movie coming out called Runaway Slave, Run from Tyranny to Liberty. Reverend Bryant, you call yourself a runaway slave. Why is that?
Because it takes courage to leave a certain mindset. My ancestors, my great-grandfather was a slave here in Louisiana, although he was emancipated. But this is the one thing that my grandfather always told me about him. He knew that freedom was all around him. And when I think about that, you think about those who, in fact, did run away from the plantation. They knew that freedom was out there, but they had to have the courage to go and get it, regardless of what that may cost. And when we look at America, even if you came here escaping the tyranny of King George on the Mayflower, or whether you ran away from the tyranny of the plantation, America has never been a place of guarantees. No one, not even the Pilgrims, the first winter that they were here, were guaranteed to make it. And that surely that runaway slave was not guaranteed any type of freedom once he ran away. But all of us, the American spirit tells us that courage, that's why we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, is because that's what it takes to secure the blessing of liberty.
Reverend Bryant, how do we empower black folks that see what's going on, love their country, fear for their children, and want to improve the situation, and they see these bounties on George Zimmerman, and they see the Al Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons and the race baiters and the race hustlers and the weakest and most the poverty pimps in our society stealing their very existence, stealing their voice. How do we empower those folks to start speaking out and taking back our institutions?
I believe that black folks do indeed love their country. However, they are sidetracked by the emotionalism attached to our skin color. And as I was saying to someone earlier, I've had, this is the 6th radio interview I've done this morning. And as I was saying to someone, is that as long as people like Sharpton and Reverend Jackson and others can keep black folks angry about Kunta Kinte's foot being cut off, or Grandpa being beaten back in the 40s or 50s, then we lose focus on what the true prize is. All of us in this country, every one of us in this country, whether you're Rockefeller or whether you're just a fella in this country, have had to face adversity to get whatever we have. And the myth that sometimes is in the minds of black folks and poor folks is that rich folks don't have adversity. You see, the more you have, actually the greater the risk that you have to take. And I would much rather take the risk getting to where the Rockefellers are than to pull the Rockefellers down to where some of us are.
Why do you think it is? Why do you think it is that this Trayvon Martin case lights such a fire? Do you think that that is purely a case of a lot of people sitting around waiting on a situation like this and they get caught up in it? Do you think that a lot of people, that this is their anger and this gives them a chance to vent? I mean, this seemed to be a ready-made script that the cast just stepped into.
This is a ready-made script, and it has been being scripted for quite some time now. The progressive left are mostly white people, and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson have been co-opted by the progressive left. The people who want to see racial division and unrest in this country are not conservatives. They are liberals, because as long as you can keep a person control over their emotions, and that's what this is about. That's what the Trayvon Martin thing is about. Because if this was just about a young man being killed, we would be incensed about something that goes on every day in Newark and Chicago and Dallas and Miami and places like that. We would be incensed, and we'd be marching in all of these cities. But no, this stimulates something very emotional, and then it is fanned by the tools of the progressive left. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, they are the tools of the progressive left, MSNBC and people like that. They are their tools to keep this type of design and keep this play scripted so that government will have, and I know this is ideological discussion that statement I'm about to make, but then government, which is the design of this Obama administration, is more able then to manipulate a situation and control a population because they have captured them emotionally over something that is contrived.
You were a former member and president of the NAACP, an organization I would argue has outlived its usefulness and turned in the wrong direction. Why did you leave?
I left over pro-choice, over abortion issue. I was asked, Dr. Benjamin Hooks was our national director at that time, and I was asked by the national office to speak at a pro-choice rally that was going to occur in Dallas County. And keep in mind, Garland is the largest bedroom community in Dallas County, or was at that time. And I was asked to speak at a pro-choice rally, and I refused to do that. I did notice that my star, which was rising, I could have been Ben Jealous or Kwame Nkrumah had I stayed and played ball. But I noticed that my agenda was not being supported the way it was, and that there was actually a movement launched against me to get my ouster because somehow I was not a good Negro anymore. You know, I wasn't playing ball the way I used to play. And I told my wife, I said, you know, they don't just want to control the agenda; they want to control me, and
Absolutely.
They want to use me to control a group of people. And that is the design, that is the modus operandi of the progressive left. They have always wanted to control the agenda.
Let me say this, Pastor, because I got to go to break. It's runawayslavemovie.com. Go there and support this movie. I think it's a great message.